Indoor cycling, Zwift, racing, parenting. We cover those and all of our hopes and dreams in between. Welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast, an entertaining look into the lives of everyday people trying to achieve virtual cycling glory from our basements and garages from around the world. This podcast is rooted in Zwift and has evolved into found friendships, fitness, health, and a little sprinkle of humor. This may be one of the only podcasts where a little heavy breathing shouldn't scare you away, because we're riding our bikes while we're recording.
All right, we're all here. Welcome back to those who are watching. We've got a special guest today, UCI World Qualifier, J Bruhn. Everybody welcome J Bruhn.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jay.
Good morning.
So Jay, you've had a whirlwind of press, I'm assuming. I know I've watched a couple of interviews with you. I read the Zombies take on it. So we like to ask hard-hitting questions here, so we're going to get the fluff out of the way. So if you want to go ahead and give us your backstory, who you are, where you're from, all that stuff.
Yeah, no problem. So, I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. Went to the University of Alabama, full time, and graduated there. And I moved all over. I work in project management and construction, so I kind of go where the projects are. So I've been up in Washington, D.C., in Texas, over in the U.K., just outside of London, back to Texas. And now I'm over in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I got to meet a bunch of the dirt guys. That's right.
Eat Dirt Central.
Yeah, for real. It's been a lot of fun getting to know a lot of the guys down here. And it's been interesting because you get to know them through Discord and then you get to meet them in person. And it's always funny when you meet somebody that you've been riding with. The first thing you can tell everyone's doing is looking them up and down and be like, okay, yeah, he looks like he weighs about 150 pounds. 5'9", 5'8", okay. Looks like checks
The avatar matches up, right?
You're not a sandbagger. Got it.
Yeah. It's like, holy cow, Jerry actually weighs 110 pounds. But yeah, so I work in projects and moved here and got a wife and one baby on the way. So I got 2.5-year-old.
Yeah,
congrats.
What did your wife do?
You go this March 1st, like 5 days before the World Championship. So so I'm pretty nervous about that.
Old fast.
Yeah. So, but
is that why you've been moved into the garage, Jay?
Yes, that's why I moved into the garage.
I don't mean to derail the conversation, but everybody, can we just appreciate Kelso's lights?
Yes, we can.
I like that, Kelso.
I like that.
For those who are maybe listening to this, he looks as if he is Matthew McConaughey himself traveling through Interstellar.
I was just going to say, Kelso has joined us from a nebula somewhere in outer space. And he even wore bib straps today.
I did, yeah. No, I don't believe it. I think those are just fake. Anyway, so Jay, coming up to Worlds, I know we all know you do a lot of racing. You think that's pretty much your training repertoire? You race all the time?
Pretty much. Yeah, there's pretty much two aspects of it. The base aspect of it, so days like today, try to just keep it to zone 2 and just grind it out, get some volume. And then on days when there's races, there's an occasional day where I'll have something I specifically want to target. So I'll try to attack some or just focus on sprinting. But for the most part, I think one of the things that works to my advantage is the gamification of it. I think that's one of those things that you can only learn by racing, timing sprints and understanding the draft and just the dynamics of it all. And so I think just being able to race a lot has helped me learn and just feel comfortable. Like I feel like I can control my avatar. Whereas a lot of people think they're just riding and they have no control over it whatsoever. So But I do a lot of racing. But I treat it as training too.
So when did you start to whip? Because you had cycled before this, right?
Kind of, yeah. So I, in college, I did triathlons. And, it's hard to believe it's like 10 years ago now almost. But
It just gets longer.
you see how I look at my watch? Like, oh, yeah, it's 4:25. So, yeah, about 10 years ago. But yeah, so I did triathlons in college. And I would say I was decent, not great. I always joke that I was the back of the front of the pack. So, but my strength was always biking. And I only ever rode like maybe once, occasionally twice a week. And I was able to crank out usually around an hour for 40K. And people used to always joke all the time that, dude, you're a cyclist trying to be a triathlete. Like, you should quit and focus on cycling. I was like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. So I never did. And then college ended and didn't have time to train for everything, being in construction. And so I just kind of focused on running for a long time. And then I guess about 6 or 7 years later, after hanging up the bike, when we had our first child, I was like, man, I need a way to stay in shape because I can't just like leave the house and stuff while my wife is taking care of the baby. And she wants to go do stuff while the baby's taking a nap, but that means I have to stay home. And I started doing some research and found Zwift. I was like, oh, I think my bike is like still hanging up in the garage. A little rusty, but I think I can make it work. So I pulled it down, got myself a kicker snap, and then hopped on back in, June of last year. So I've been doing this for almost a year and a half now.
It's quite a year and a half, man. It's a whirlwind.
No, it really has been. I remember when I first started, I started it up, fired it up, rode around for like an hour or something, super sore the next day. But I was like, all right, I want to check out this like racing stuff and the roof rides. And I did like a dirt ride. I think it's called Rolling Thunder at the time. And it was like easy zone 2, like chill rides. And I was like, I can handle this. I got dropped within like the first 5 minutes. I was like, like dying. I was like, oh my gosh, like how do these people do this? Couldn't believe it. And but I was hooked though. I was like, all right, I don't want this to happen again. I'm gonna keep pushing. And just kept getting better and better. And it's funny though, like as I kept getting better like so quickly, I was like, surely something's wrong with my trainer. So I started doing research. And I was like, there's no way that I'm doing this because like I'm not an A. I've only been riding for like a couple weeks. And and so I started learning about calibrations and stuff, and then started reading all these articles about how unreliable the kicker snap was. So then I started getting like paranoid about like calibrating it. So I like calibrated for every single ride, and I kept getting better, and I was like, oh man, something's wrong. And then so eventually I talked my wife into letting me get like some pedals, power meter pedals to like dual record. But it was like I bought them used, and sometimes they would drop out. They weren't reliable. So even though like my dual recordings were like starting to match up, I still didn't believe it. And eventually I talked my wife into letting me get a kicker, or not kicker, a Saris H3. And I ended up buying that used as well from a guy for $400. I got a sweet deal on it. And yeah, again, all the numbers just kept matching up. And so it should be kind of a whirlwind. I never really expected to do this well at something. And I still feel like something's got to be wrong. Like qualifying for Worlds, I'm like, oh man.
I heard you talk about that. I think it was on the Zom Unique interview. It's something,
yeah.
It's an imposter syndrome. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where you feel like you don't belong. I think there's 5 other people in this podcast who say you do.
We don't belong. We're not worthy.
We're the Wayne and Garth in this scenario. So then you started with dirt. You remember how you joined Eat Dirt? Sully stalking?
No, it wasn't Sully this time. It was, oh yeah, so So I guess I'd just become an A, and so I've been riding for about a month, and so I knew, I guess going back, I knew Tiago from back in college. We used to race triathlons together, and so I knew him through that, and I followed him with Strava and stuff, and all of a sudden, I guess he saw one of my races, and he reached out to me on Strava and said, "Hey, would you be interested in the team time trial?" And with my background being triathlon, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's perfect. I love that." And I'm not a sprinter or anything, so team time trial is perfect. And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll join." And then he sent me information on Discord and got to learn about that, and joined up. And then I got bombarded with 1,000 GIFs in the first 30 minutes. I was like, "This is awesome."
At least they weren't cat GIFs at the time.
At the time, yeah, we hadn't graduated to that level yet.
Sorry to distract you, but did you just say GIF?
Yeah, there's contention on
I
whether
was,
it's pronounced
I was going to bring it up if somebody else didn't, but I was going to let him finish the sentence.
Sorry, it's GIF. Let's move on.
GIF, like the peanut butter.
Obviously, they're choosy moms. So anyway,
Cheers.
all right. So you kick butt, you qualify. All right. Immediate reaction, first thing in your head. What did you think?
Oh man, so when I sprint, a lot of times I put my head down and I'm just going after it, and I will glimpse up at the screen just to check to see if I'm done yet. I can stop. And so when the race happened, it was a long sprint. I think it ended up being a 30-second sprint after that hard race. And when I looked up, I kept glimpsing up, and I could kind of see myself working through the pack. And I glimpsed up and saw I finished with a group, a small group, but I didn't know if it was the front or the middle, if it got strung out. I had no idea when I crossed the line, where I finished. You know how it always takes a second for the results to pop up. Yep. And then they pop up, and sometimes it'll change, a second or two after it pops up. But it popped up and it said I was in fourth. I was like, no way. I was like, please don't change, please don't change, please don't change. And I waited 3 or 4 seconds, and it didn't change. And I just yelled as loud as I could. I was like, yeah.
And so everybody knows, to qualify for world championships, you had to be top 5.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I cared about, was just top 5. And so I saw that, I screamed as loud as I could. And it's funny because our window is open, right next to me, because it's kind of cool outside. And I'm sure my neighbors were just what just happened? My wife came running in. She's like, well, what's going on? I think she thought I broke something. And she was freaking out. And I was like, oh, I said, I qualified. And she tries to understand, and I appreciate the support she gives me. But I don't think she really fully understood how much that meant to me, and how big it was. And so I think she was really concerned. She's like, what is going on? Did you do something good? I'm like, yeah, I did something I never thought I could do. So I think she's starting to realize how big of a deal it is and what it means to me. So
just how good you wanted to hear it.
Yeah, that's so true. Those of us who do this, we realize that's a huge accomplishment. And I'm trying to explain it to my wife, and she's like, so he's pretty good at it? I'm like, yeah, he's good. She's like, what about you? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Well, we're also world champions, Todd. We'll talk about that later, though.
That is true. We are world champions, just in a different league.
My wife has a limited understanding as well. She was like, so, are you, are y'all, is he a little bit faster than you? I'm like, he's a lot faster than me. He's like a professional athlete. No, just don't worry about it.
So I guess the other question I had about your race was, did you have wheels that you knew you could hold that were going to get you where you needed to be at the end?
Yeah, I knew that with Tom Thrall and Duffy in there, both of those guys are super strong sprinters, and somehow always managed to be in the right place at the right time and time the sprint perfectly. And they have the power. So it's man, every time I line up against those guys in race, I'm like, all right, I know they're going to be like top 5 easily, and if not win it. And so I knew if as long as I stayed in the group that they were in, I had a chance. And but then as we like came to the sprint, like one of the things that was unique about the race is you had to have 50% trainer difficulty. Well, I typically ride to 0%. And for me, that helps like with consistency and feel like I know exactly what gear I'm in without looking. And I know what gear I need to be in for the sprint. Well, being at 50% and a downhill finish, I knew that I was going to be a little less resistant. So I've also got, I need to adjust my derailleur because if I shift too much, it'll just shift right off the cassette and I'll drop my chain right in the middle of the sprint.
Oh my gosh.
So like as we were coming up to the final sprint, I was trying to find the people that I wanted to be near, but then I looked down at my rear cassette to make sure I was in the right gear. And I looked back up and everybody had gone. And I was like off the back. And like I had a moment of like sheer terror. I was like, no way that I just like below this, like right at the sprint. And so I just like kicked it at that point. And luckily I was able to catch back on the group. And I think I caught him like right near the bottom of that hill. So I had some like really good momentum right as I caught the bottom.
Perfect.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it worked out perfectly. I hit that aero power up and just flew through the group and caught right up on him. And going back and looking at the results, I was like, man, if that had been like just a little bit longer, I might have even gotten like second or third. So it was
Just how you planned it.
just how I planned it. That's right.
I watched the replay. I'll probably put a little clip in there of the ZCL live stream. And Zach Nair, who got first in that, he took a breakaway at the S's, right?
Yep.
And it shows just how close the next 4 finishers were to him at the finish. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like so
yeah, it
close.
really was. Yeah, that was such a gutsy move on his part, though.
So when's the big one? Is it February 26th?
The big one, February 26th. Yep. So I
What time of day?
will say I don't know that yet. I don't know if they've announced that yet. But
Have they announced
But
what
yeah,
trainer
no,
you got to use?
they have not announced that either. I guess they're still working on a sponsor for the race. But it was funny because somebody mentioned that to me that, hey, I think you're gonna get a trainer. I was like, really? So I Googled it real quick, like anybody would, and I saw that last year they sent out tax tax 2 or whatever.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so cool to get a free trainer. Then I kept reading, and then it said later that, oh, they have to send it back afterwards. I was like, oh, come on.
It's just a tease.
Yeah. But still, even have that opportunity is pretty neat.
All right, we're going to go into our lightning round. We have some, like I said, hard-hitting questions because we don't do fluff answers here. So I'm going to open the floor. Sully, you want to start?
Hey, Jay. Yeah, we'll call this segment "Man versus Machine." Cyclists spend a lot of money on gear and tech. Tell everybody about your bike situation when you started with your tri bike, and then tell them about Zwifting in your bathroom.
Yes. Okay. So I like to be. I guess the word I use is frugal and smart with our money. And I don't like to buy a $10,000 bike because honestly, I can't afford that. And back in college, I had an old P3 Cervelo bike that was a great bike. And so when I pulled that down from the garage, when it's been sitting in the garage, especially in Texas and Louisiana with all the humidity, it got a little rusty. And so I pulled it down. It's pretty bad. Like it's so rusty that none of my shifters work, and I'd gotten it down to like the biggest gear. So for the first like 6, 7, that was probably about 7 months. of my Zwifting career, it was all in one gear. And so even like zone 2 rides, I'm like sitting there out of the saddle, just like cranking at like 40 RPMs. And and yeah, so the first like 7 months, I just had one gear. And then finally, Keith Miller and Clay Jackson had me over, and they fixed my bike, and I could shift gears again. It was amazing. and then Clay, so I ended up upgrading bikes. I got a giant TCR Advance now, road bike instead of tri bike, which also makes sprinting a lot easier. But Clay like sent me a message one day. He's like, "Hey, check out this bike. It's a great deal." And so I was like, "Okay, surely Clay like vetted this guy, and this is a reliable bike." And so I'm like, "All right." So I sent this guy a message, and I was like, "Hey, let's meet up, or I want to buy your bike." And man, this I feel like this is his own podcast in itself. But I ended up meeting up with this guy. Long story short, like this is like middle of the boondocks, Louisiana. And like when you think of like Waterboy, and you know that guy that like talks, and you can't understand anything he says, like that was this guy. And I'm like sitting there like trying to have a conversation with him. I'm like, how did you come by like this bike? Like I'm thinking like maybe he stole this thing or something. And he's like, "Oh no, my aunt married this guy that was into biking, and they got divorced. And so she had this bike, and she didn't know what to do with it, so I'm selling it." I'm like, "Okay, I guess it sounds okay." And then I was like, "Why aren't you riding it?" And he's like, "Oh man, I'm missing a bunch of organs," and like lifts up his shirt and has like this huge like scar across his stomach. And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!" He's like, "I know, right?" I'm just like, "Oh." Like at this point, like I'm just like, I just want to get out of there. I asked him a bunch of questions and stuff, but I was like, I'm getting out of here. So I gave him the money, got the bike, and just like roared it out of there. But it was quite the experience. But I got.
So you couldn't Venmo him?
No, he did not accept Venmo.
Did you pay him an alligator?
Oh yeah. No,
He was willing to accept a kidney.
Yeah.
I'll take either $50 or you living.
That's a hot.
Well, the best part was I gave him the money, and like instead of like getting in his car to drive away, he didn't come there in a car. He rode the bike to meet me where we met. So I gave him the money. He just like put it in his pants and then just like took off running, like not like a casual jog, like sprinting away. And I was just like, "What's happening?" So I got in my car and I got out of there. I was like, if he's in this big of a hurry to get out of here, like I need to do too.
Yeah. His bike is definitely not legit right now.
But yeah, so I got a good bike, but or a working bike, and yeah, then we moved to Louisiana. So when I was back in Texas, we had a spare guest bedroom that I could set up, and I was in air conditioning and everything was fine and dandy. We moved to Louisiana, and we have less room here. And so I started out in the garage, which was fine in the wintertime. But then summer came and it started getting really hot in here. And so I moved I was like trying to figure out a spot in our house that worked. And I needed like either wood or tile from a trainer to have some stability. And I needed it to be out of the way so I didn't bother anybody. And I didn't have to like tear it down and set it back up. So the only spot I could find in the entire house was in our guest bathroom. And it ended up working out kind of nicely because I had the sink counter right next to me, so I could throw my stuff. And if I had to go to the bathroom, just hop off, easy access. So it was
Unlimited
nice.
water, right?
Yeah,
Just fill it up in the sink.
unlimited water. Yeah, literally. But yeah, I was joking with my wife, and I think I wrote it down when I was after the race. But I was like, man, I never in a million years would figure out that my greatest athletic accomplishment would occur in a bathroom.
Well, I think Kelso's greatest athletic accomplishment came from a bathroom, but not in one, right?
Oh, you got that right.
All right, Greg, what you got for him?
Oh man, how hard? I mean, I'll tell you the thing that I'm most curious about through Jay's travels are fire hydrants, their comparative size, and what plans have you got to help Baton Rouge overcome the obstacle of North American fire hydrant size?
Yeah, so fun fact. The previous place I lived in Beaumont, Texas, home of the third largest fire hydrant in the world. That's right. You heard that correctly. Third largest. But it is the largest functioning fire hydrant.
Oh, it works?
Had that. It works.
I will confess, I've never looked it up to find out.
I wouldn't expect you to.
All right.
But so I was curious about this fire hydrant. Like, why in the world is there a large fire hydrant in Beaumont, Texas? Like, small town. And so apparently it was paid for and put there by Disney. I guess back in the day, they were considering putting in a new theme park around that area because it was like a central location near like a major city in Houston, far enough away where the land was cheap. And but I guess obviously it never happened. But yeah,
So
the third largest fire hydrant.
it was intended to be a functioning fire hydrant, not some novelty.
I guess so.
All the fires in Disney Central. That's incredible. That's
No, the
incredible.
world's largest cowboy hat. This is functional. That's what we're talking about. This is Texas, right? It's not functional. They don't want it.
Texas.
Yes.
All right, Drew.
Yep.
Let them have it.
So, Jay, I know you went to Alabama, big Crimson Tide fan. I just, which was your favorite championship? This is going to be tough for Sully. I know, poor Sully's got to listen to this one. What was the best championship season for Alabama?
Oh, man. It has to be the first one because that was because I was a fan through the dark ages as well.
Right.
And so my freshman year was Nick Saban's first year.
That's cool.
And what a lot of people don't remember is his first year wasn't as glorious as his later years. Like, I remember losing to Louisiana Monroe that year at like homecoming. I was like, it sucks. And then next year they like went undefeated and lost to Florida in the SEC championship game. I'll bring that up for you, Sully. And then the following year was the year they won, and that was like the same year that I was at the game when it happened. We were about to like lose to Tennessee, and they were about to kick like a chip shot field goal, and they ended up blocking it. And I remember like somehow like as soon as it got blocked, like everyone went so crazy that like I ended up like 10 rows down, closer to the field, like in an instant. Everyone just went like nuts. And I was like, I don't even know where I am anymore. That was a fun game.
That's really cool. Were you ever able to go to any of the championship games? Alumni or anything?
My dad will be disappointed to hear this, but I sold all the tickets that I got for championship games because I was a broke college student. And when I found out people were willing to pay like $1,500 for a ticket, I was like, heck yeah. So I sold all my tickets.
That's crazy. That's awesome, though. What is your
They
favorite?
show this on TV.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I can see everything on TV and I can actually understand and see what's going on better. But
I've always, because I went to.
The thing is,
yeah.
I was going to say, you have to pick up the ticket in person at the stadium to get it.
Yeah.
So I still got to go to like all the games and like be at the tailgates and experience the crowd and the atmosphere, and then just go to a bar and watch it afterwards. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I went to a small school, so we didn't have football. I mean, that whole game day experience, especially for something like the SEC, I mean, that's got to be out of control.
Yep.
So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I did go down to Gainesville for the game when Alabama played Florida. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, good time.
All right, Kelso, bring it home, buddy.
All right, very serious question. I think future races you'll have a lot of eyes on you. Not a lot of people, of course, are sharing all their power data, and even the cameras. Camera will be on you a little bit. I guess it's kind of a two-part question. Are you gonna show off your chest hair on the camera. And you're going to bring back this incredible mustache right here.
Kelso, you can send me a shot of that, and I will definitely put that in because it deserves to be there.
I mean that.
Oh, I don't think my wife knows that picture exists.
Oh, it's the best picture.
Probably for the best.
It needs to be framed.
Jay, how do you think shaving that would impact your watts per kg?
Not the mustache,
it would
the
be
chest,
a significant bump.
Both.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing is heavy. I mean, it weighs me down.
Might take you to the next level.
But seriously, I do love that picture because, you know, it's got your setup in the bathroom. I remember when you first posted that picture after you had the setup early on, and I thought, that's a future world champion right there in his bathroom.
Well, Jay's had some pretty sweet setups otherwise, though. Then you went on vacation and you rode like on a balcony overlooking a beach, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we had a condo, and I brought my bike and trainer. I know it's funny because like my wife, like it drives her crazy that I'm like dragging around this bike and trainer everywhere we go, and like she knows the question's coming every single time, but she still dreads it. It's like it's eventually gonna come and say, "So, this trip that we got coming up, can I bring my bike and trainer?" And she's like, "I don't even know why I try to fight with you anymore, because you're gonna talk me into it eventually." And I mean, I don't want you to, but I'm going to say yes. So yeah, I just, I bring it everywhere.
There you go.
Do you think having qualified for Worlds is going to make it easier?
I hope so.
Convince her?
Maybe. Well, so obviously we have some travels coming up for the holidays, and during our time off, we're actually going to do what's called a baby move. I'm not sure if you've heard this, but
yeah, we did one.
I guess it's like it's like a last minute trip before the baby comes to kind of have some peace and relaxation. And she was proactive this time. So she actually told me, she's like, "All right, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you can bring the bike and trainer." And I was like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I'm going to want to relax during this and read a book. And she's like, I don't want you bugging me the entire time. But let's go do something. I can't sit still. Like I have to be doing something or some kind of activity." So it's like, you bring your trainer and your bike and you go ride and I'm going to relax. And I was just like, yes.
I was really hoping you were going to say she booked you a room with a Peloton. Like they have those hotel rooms that you can get that come with Peloton. So
who does that?
That's a fancy hotel, Peloton room.
Yeah, really.
You want to tell us what your future holds? Because I know you got some exciting news.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of exciting things happening right now.
That's right.
I mean, I'm sure you're referring to the team change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one that, man, there was a lot of internal debate on this one, just because the Eat Dirt team has like literally become a family. You guys do stuff like this, and just all the friendships and relationships you build over the last like year and a half. It's like, man, I've enjoyed these guys so much, and I don't want to leave it. And I got counsel from a lot of people, and pretty much everybody came back saying, look, it's not like you're going to be gone. You're still going to be around as long as you guys don't kick me out. And this is a great opportunity to join a bunch of guys that they're at the top of the sport, and I can learn from them and train with them and hopefully push myself and see how far I can take it. And so I actually spoke to a couple of teams and landed on the team next, Powered by Inshore. And mainly because like they took the time to not just like have one guy meet with us, but multiple. I think we met with like 6 different guys or something like that and talked through kind of like their vision and what they do and what they're about. And it just seemed to line up with everything that I wanted and I was hoping for. Because it's not just that they were all focused on themselves and selfish, as I was kind of worried about with having some of the top guys in the world, thinking that they're going to be focused on their own personal goals. But they have a vision of growing the sport in general they understand that for us to be taken seriously, we need to work together and build the sport in this community. And so I thought there was a lot of good discussions, and at the end of the day, it was just like a bunch of good guys. And I mean, you look across the Swift, there's tons of good people around. So it shouldn't come as a surprise, but it was refreshing to have those conversations. I mean, it just felt right with the direction they're going. They're not settling for winning the Premier League or anything. They're still pushing themselves and trying to get better. And so it felt like the right thing. And one thing that made it even better, but really kind of sealed the deal, was the fact that I got to go over with Gary. Gary's become a really good friend of mine. It's so funny how when we both started, he was up in like Kansas City and I was over in Texas. And then I got relocated for work, like unexpectedly. I think it was like the beginning of December. I had a monthly meeting with my boss, and I was like, hey, there's a lot of changes coming up. I'm not going to be moving or anything. He's like, oh, no. He's like, oh, changes in the organization coming up. He's like, we're going to need you here in Texas to help out. Well, a week later, he calls me up and says, how do you feel about Baton Rouge? And I was like, oh, gosh, I know what that means. And so I think like December 10th, he told me, all right, we need you in Baton Rouge starting January 1st. I was like, oh, my gosh. And so it's kind of like a rush move to Baton Rouge. And then like a week later, Gary like calls him or texts me on Discord, and he's like, hey, I think I might be moving to Baton Rouge too. I was like, no way. And sure enough, I think he moved over in about the same time I did, about March or so. And so we, ironically, we both got relocated to Baton Rouge. I mean, luckily there's already like a great community of Eat Dirt guys here. So we all have like gotten to meet together in person and ride together and get drinks together and hang out together and see each other's families and
Eat Dirt and
so we become good friends. So that's right. Yeah, I got to meet up together in Clay's garage and do the Eat Dirt anniversary and grow mustaches together. That's the stroke of true friendship.
That's the dream right there.
That's right. Yeah. So we have so many good memories together, and so the opportunity to do that with him, I just felt like the right thing to do at the right time. So making that move, and I'm hoping that I can come back one day. I hope you guys will accept me back one day.
So speaking
right
for the group as the newest member of Eat Dirt on this 5 squad team, I'll say no one's kicking you out. I think we're all super proud and really happy for you that you get this opportunity.
Yep.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks. That means a lot. I mean, I've been so nervous about how people would react.
we were just gonna have you on to celebrate all your achievements.
Yeah.
And then you signed with Next, and it was like we've peaked as a podcast, and it's only our second episode. So thanks for ruining it.
We did have those discussions with some stipulations for coming, but yeah, no, those guys were great, and I think they saw.
Are you leaving because of the cat gifts?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
It's always Steve's fault.
Oh, geez.
Well, man, we're all super proud of you and excited for you. So there's absolutely nothing to apologize for. Like we're proud of you, bro.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
But it was gonna be really awkward if we had this interview and I was the only one that knew. So when you guys announced last night, I was like, "Woo!"
Yeah, just know everyone's happy to see where you can take it. To get to that next level. People pushing you. I mean, we'll be cheering you on. When do some of these new jerseys come in?
That's a good question. Apparently, I I sent them all my information last night. So I have no idea how fast Swift works. And, but yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much officially on their team as of today. I think, I guess, but yeah, it's, they sent me all a bunch of paperwork and all sorts of other stuff to fill out. So working through all that. But,
So
yeah, it's exciting.
with for some of the people who don't realize how great of an achievement esports professionalism is, can you tell us a little bit about what being a member of the team really does for you as far as a rider?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I think just the opportunity to be around a bunch of guys that are at the top of the sport is just an awesome experience because I'll get to learn from them. Like I said, the gamification of Zwift is so important. I mean, I think it's allowed me to beat a lot of people that honestly are a lot better cyclists than I am, a lot stronger in a lot of ways. But I feel like that's one of my strengths is I understand the gamification side of it, and that helps me. But I also know that these guys take up a whole new level. Like they study the game, they understand stuff, they work together in races, and so to be able to learn from them and grow from that aspect would be huge. Then also just level of competition that they're constantly around, like competing in the Premier League and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's in the cards for me or whatever, but because they have so many good guys, I'll give it a shot if I can. But also know that I'm the new guy on the block. And so I don't expect to come in and they give me a spot, but if that opportunity arises, that'd be fun to get to do that. And yeah, I mean, also on that team, there's 3 other guys that qualified for UCI Worlds. So to be able to share that experience with them and the preparation that goes into it and leading up to it will be a lot of fun and something I can also grow in.
I gotta say, it's just.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think it's so impressive how well Jay races. On his own, he did the qualifier solo, no support team, no DS. Even some of the guys he had been, conversing with and racing with, Matt and Gary, neither of them were there with you, correct?
Yeah.
So I think
right.
to have this support, you have so much potential, before this race, and so it's going to be exciting to see, the improvements you're able to make between now and then, just being with the team.
Yeah.
So I was going to segue to the fact that, you joining this team and you just put together a race series celebrating teams, right?
That's right. Yeah. So this is more so Matt's brainchild. He deserves all the credit for this one.
You're talking about
That's
Matt
one thing
Brandt,
I noticed
right?
about Matt Brandt. Yeah.
Yeah, give him a shout
This
out.
dude, he came over and joined us, and he deserves so much credit and respect because one of his passions and one of the things that's so contagious being around him is just his passion for the Zwift community and the dirt community. And I think he recognizes how much good can come from lifting people up and not calling people out. And I think that was kind of what stemmed this idea of, hey, let's put on a race that celebrates other teams, not just ourselves. And I think they've done this in the past. And so he's kind of bringing it back. And so it's basically an opportunity to hey, look, we know there's a lot of great teams out there and a lot of great people. Let's highlight that and bring that to light and celebrate it. And so that kind of spawned the dirt team celebration ride where we get to interview a new team each week or even an individual, ask some questions and share that publicly and give other people a chance to get to know some of these people behind the avatars that we race against all the time. So I thought it was a great idea. The first race went off, I guess yesterday, and we had a ton of people show up, and I think I actually laughed out loud like multiple times during the race with all the guys talking. And we had a lot of fun, and I think hopefully it's something I can continue to support because it's something that I believe in as well.
Well, I know you have obligations, and we know we don't want to keep you. So thank you very much for participating in this.
No problem. It was an absolute honor. Getting to know you guys over the last year or so, and having so much fun with you guys. But I will say there's a couple people I'd like to thank as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The floor is yours. Go for it.
I know they'll probably listen to this, but yeah, one thing I've been trying to emphasize to people is I'm a Christian, and it's been a point that I've been trying to make, that this is all super exciting, like more than I ever expected. And at the end of the day, though, I recognize that joy fades for earthly things, but I have eternal hope and peace through Jesus. And I became a Christian a little bit later in life, and I've gotten to experience what it's like not being a Christian, and what it's like having that hope and peace. And just want to recognize that I wouldn't be here without Jesus. So I want to recognize that, but also, my wife has been such a huge support to me. There's been so many races where the baby will start crying in the middle of the race. I'm like, please get her. And she's like, oh my gosh, fine. But she does it, and then most of the time it's planned, and she'll take care of the baby while I'm riding the race and doing my stuff. But so I'm so thankful for her, and she supports me in so many ways. So it's been awesome. And Matt and Jerry, man, those guys have pushed me so hard, way past where I ever thought I would be. Matt came in from Sarah's, and he knew what it took to get to that level. And I think he saw a lot of potential in both of us, and has always pushed us to get better and grow. And also, he's the one that kind of put that bigger picture vision in front of us. I think it's easy to get caught up in our little bubble of eat dirt and stuff, and not recognize the larger community that we're part of. So he's been such a huge help and a resource, and really just a good friend. And the same with Jerry. And then just the whole eat dirt crew. If it wasn't for you guys setting us up and setting up team time trials every week and doing that, having accountability, there's no way I'd be waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to ride a bike. But so having that accountability, and the friends and the people I've enjoyed getting to know, that makes it worth it getting up every morning. And again, that's been the hardest part about making this decision to make the transition, is you guys have all become genuine friends. And but I know that's not going to change. We'll still stay in touch. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's this community has been such a huge support to me, and I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, on that note, Jay, best of luck, man, for all your future endeavors. We'll be cheering you on the next team, so no pun
I hope
intended.
next knows that they dreamed about. I don't even.
Have you been riding alone on Zwift? Are you looking for a challenge? Have you heard of WTRL's Thursday Team Time Trial and want to get started? Let's give you some tips so you can bathe in that Team Time Trial victory. Obviously, the first step to any good team time trial is having a team. Around here, we're a little partial to dads inside riding trainers, but you can understand why. So get yourself a team of 8 people and head on over to WTRL, or World Tactical Racing League. These guys organize and put on multiple events, one of which is their Thursday team time trial across many different zones. The next step is linking your Zwift account to your WTRL account so that you can ride and be recognized. Okay, back to the team aspect. WTRL breaks their teams into coffee classes, ranging from Doppio all the way down to Mocha. The gist of it is you're allowed to have 3 high-powered riders for each 8-person team. For example, if you're riding Latte, most of you are C, while the top 3 are going to be B. Now you're going to decide when you're going to ride. Looking at this table can be a little confusing, but basically you want to pick zones that fits in where you live. So pick one that sticks with you throughout the year. One more thing, you're going to want to make sure you're registered at Zwift Power. That's where all the real racers are. Oh, the other most important thing is don't use a TT bike. You're going to want a regular bike because drafting is everything. Confused yet? Yeah, thought so. Now it's time to communicate with your team. I guess you could go the old route, text or even homing pigeon, but most of us like to use Discord just because it's easy to plan and also communicate on day of. And yeah, makes things easier. Then you'll get a delay. That delay is how much time you spend after the actual official time starts, before your team takes off. This helps to keep teams separated by up to a minute, sometimes even just as little as 30 seconds. While you're in the pen, you can finalize those last-minute details of your plan and maybe even take a nap, depending on how long your delay is. For those long delays, you can also get in the pairing screen and keep your warm-up going. Once your timer hits 0, your team takes off, and you start the rotation. The rotation will be determined ahead of time based on your team's plan, but basically you're going to want to pull at a higher watts to keep the front of your team moving at the agreed speed or power that you have planned on. The length of your pull is directly related to your fitness and how strong you are compared to the rest of your team. Sometimes you'll take 60, sometimes just as little as 30 seconds, but the goal is to keep your team as close to your target speed as possible while you're pulling. Once your pull is over, you can then fade to the back of the pack and try to get some recovery so that when you're up again, you're fresh as can be. Basically, from here on out, it's just rinse and repeat. Just try and stay on as long as you can. Sometimes you might drop people, and sometimes they may stick with you till the end, but the climbing is really where it's hard because you have to balance your higher-powered riders with your lower-powered riders to make sure that people stay on as long as possible. The hard part's pretty much over. If you have things that don't make sense now, it's okay, because most of the time you're going to be riding with people that are more experienced than you and can coach you through that first part. We all firmly believe that having fun is the first and foremost goal of any ride. So get out there and give it a shot.